Hey, this is Kirk Hilliard.
And it's Rusty Bird. It's the Kirk and Byrd Show. Regional finals. And then we got the semis coming up. We'll start out with the regional finals with our group picker experts. We start out with Jason Sterling. All right, that's Mr. Stonebridge. Had his son play there, and he'll call some of the games. And then we got the voice of Freedom Woodbridge, defending Class 6 state champion, Jay Gholson, who also does basketball. And, of course, my co-host, Kirk Hilliard, three-star athlete, Virginia Tech alum, and the guy who actually runs this particular segment. So, Kirk, tell people where they can find us, and then we'll get going.
Yes, please subscribe to us on YouTube. We love to hear from you on Twitter. We're dropping more content there at the Kirk and Byrd. And then Facebook, we have a platform that's growing. It's called the 703-540 Nova High School Sports page. And we're trying to get that to the levels of Hampton Roads, which is like 20,000.
We'd settle for Jay Gholson's the real principal.
Jay Gholson's number. So make
Jay,
sure.
What are you right now? 2,000. You just hasn't been a year yet, right?
No, actually, it's been since February.
Yeah, so just share that, and then also share the episodes. When you look at the episodes on YouTube, you can share. A lot of people are sharing.
Let me just say something. My mom always told me, she said, baby, you can do anything. She said, if Jay Gholson can do it, you can do it. So I have
she told you that back in the 70s.
We'll be at 3,000 in a year. Because if Jay can do it, I can do anything.
Right. Yeah. You're an alpha man.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, but we're going to give you some information like Stonebridge. I'm going to give you some information. I talked to some guys in Richmond about Matoaca. Got a great scouting report on Salem. Freedom, you're going to be facing, Madison. So there's some information.
Rematch, yeah.
I've already talked to some coaches who have already watched film. So this is going to be exciting. What we want to do, though, is we had some great games last week. We're going to go over the games that we showcased, and then just go over the scores and how our picks were. So no particular order as far as classes, but we're going to start with Tuscarora, champ, Tuscarora 24, champ 21. I was there. Rusty and I both picked champ, and looks like Mr. Gholson and Jason both picked Tuscarora correctly. The score was 24-21. I'll say this. I was impressed with both teams. It was a hard-fought battle. Very, very, very good football game. I saw a lot of sportsmanship. I was down on the field a lot. I like that because a lot of times I see a lot of kids talking and things like that. Very clean game. It just basically came down to, a few key plays, and Tuscarora was able to punch it in. They threw a pass. Tommy Petey hit Dawson Pugh in the end zone, and he was double covered too, guys. And Champ had the lead, right? And it didn't look good for Tusky, but they held in there. I talked to Coach Toller afterwards. I was very impressed with the poise of that sideline, that coaching staff, and those players. And by the way, Tusky, we're going to preview your game with Salem. The next game, Jason, Stonebridge 29, Briarwoods 6. Give us a brief of that game, please.
Yeah, very similar to their regular season matchup that was 29-12. Stonebridge in that game. Another physical game. Stonebridge just warm out with the run game, and then they were able to hit some over the top passes on these guys. Just a few too many athletes. I tell you, I think Stonebridge is peaking at the right time. But hats off to Briar. It was a great season for those guys, so certainly don't want to take anything away from them. Well, I'll give you a quick number here. Stonebridge is 11-0 against Briarwoods. Briar has never beaten Stonebridge.
Wow!
Even in the state championship years,
they were a different class. Remember, Briar was down in 4 when they were winning all those titles with Grace McSorley. So they've never beaten. I looked it up. Rusty, 11-0 in the history of the two schools. So
wow,
sort of a big brother, little brother thing going on right now.
Yeah.
They heard that on Belmont Ridge Road, and I think that Coach Burnett, who's been on our show, has got something special going on there.
His team is young, Kirk. His team is young, so expect them to. This margin's going to probably get a little closer next year, and
Right.
I'm sure they've got that regular season game circled on their calendar already.
Yeah. I'm excited to see Brady Carmichael play next year. So Stonebridge folks and all you people out here in Ashburn and Leesburg, we're going to preview Matoaca coming to Ashburn next week. The next game, 757 game. No surprises here, except Mr. Jason Sterling picked Warwick to upset Maury 27-21. The final score, guys, was 48-20. I believe it was not that close. Madison or Maury handled them. This is a game where I want to let any of you guys jump in, but I will say this: Maury to beat is going to be a tough one. They've got Indian River, and then the winner of Stonebridge, Matoaca. I talked to Coach Overton, it was Jeffrey Overton and Daryl, and I was just it would be great if the two teams, Freedom could play Maury. Any thoughts on this one, guys?
I talked to my brother, very good friends with a lot of the guys on the coaching staff. I'm gonna give a shout out to Larry Ori, coaching that defense down there. I think one of the things that my brother and I both kind of realized is that, yes, Warwick had a great defense, and of course they're going against an all-time great offense over in Maury. But some of it has probably been skewed just because the Peninsula District is so bad. It's not a lot of teams with a lot of talent to on any one team. So when Warwick is playing them and they're holding teams to 0 points, it's just not a lot of competition. And I was saying this in one of our previous episodes. Right now, the Bay Rivers District is probably top to bottom better than the Peninsula District. You've got
Lafayette. Yeah, I agree with you.
Gholson, Tab. You got a lot of strong talent. Those are all Peninsula teams, but for years people didn't give the Bay Rivers District a lot of credit. And now that we're broken into different classes, you win your state championship no matter where you win it, you win it.
So let's move on to the next game, and that one was Madison. Westfield. Madison handled Westfield 31-7. Jay Gholson, you live in Chantilly. You picked Westfield 20-7. The rest of us had it close. Mr. Sterling, 31-13. You were the closest. Rusty and I both had it 28-24. I would just say that this is a Madison team that I expected to win, and they're going to be going into a state semifinal, which is the third straight year. They've definitely got a tall order, but this is a great team.
Okay.
Yeah, they're gritty, Jay. I'll tell you, Coach Counts probably wishes he had saved at least 21 of those 31 points for this coming weekend.
Right. And all you folks in Vienna, we're going to preview the Freedom game, and all four of us were at the Freedom game, and we'll move on. All right. All right. So we've got the PA announcer for Freedom. Jay, give us your take on an impressive Freedom team.
What surprised me about Battlefield was 3 turnovers. I mean, you can't have 3 turnovers against a Freedom team and expect to win.
Right.
They had their chances. I mean, it was 14-0 in the first quarter. They were driving down the field, and then they fumbled on the 5-yard line.
Yep.
Cole Woodson almost had a pick 6 on the next drive. They say, no, it's 21-0 in the first quarter.
That was close for a while. That Cole should have had that ball. I was down there,
yeah. Yeah. I mean, but Battlefield's problem, I'm gonna say it again. They need to get a better schedule.
Yeah.
Tougher schedule.
Yeah.
Because you can't take Woodbridge off, take Garfield off, take off Potomac, put in there a Westfield, Robinson, even Stonebridge. Put them in there because right now, Battlefield, last year they lost in the first round. This year they got blown out against Freedom, and they're young. They're young, which is good. But next year we'll see. But that's my opinion.
I agree, Jay. But like somebody said on the page, that those usually are 2-year contracts, and I think this was just the first year. But also think about the district. The Cedar Run was very weak, and it wasn't weak a year ago. A year ago, Unity Reed was better. Osborne was better. You had Champ. And so unfortunately this year, the teams that were okay were really bad this year. So
Yeah.
Actually, guys, that's a great environment. It's the second time I've been there. The band, the fans, the people. Kirk, you and I were standing up there talking to some of those dudes up top. I mean, just
They're like us, man. They
football.
love to sit around and talk about football.
Classy guys, super nice people. If they just had a better PA announcer, I mean, that's the only thing that would make that a better team.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, you didn't play Sweet Carolina.
I don't want to get shot.
We're going to talk freedom, and we're going to talk about your game coming up with Madison. I would just say this: they were impressive. I mean, it was a mismatch, and Battlefield, they played hard. I think they against a big, huge physical team. I'm not sure why they ran in between the tackles. Maybe it was to set up the pass, but I was just impressed. Aaron Duncan, number 11, he looks like an NFL player. And if you think that's hyperbole, it's not. Those guys are big.
He told me.
So it's going to be interesting. And any of you folks down in Richmond that are looking forward, you Highland Springs folks, we're probably going to touch on that also. So moving on, speaking of Highland Springs beat Manchester 17-6. Rusty picked Manchester. Gutsy pick. Pretty close game. I believe Manchester had 5 turnovers, by the way, guys. And one of them was a reception where the player was going to be going into the end zone to score. And Highland Springs got the strip. Yep. But this was a close game, a good game, a rivalry. I'm looking at margins of victory here, 11. It looks like, I don't know. I think Jason Sterling, you were the closest. I was able to talk to Danny Lewis of Virginia Preps, and he basically just said that Manchester didn't necessarily play like the team that really beat Thomas Dale well. And Highland Springs just, was grinding. Their defense was swarming. Anybody got any feedback on that one?
No, this is Highland Springs this time of year. This is what they do.
Right.
And let's not forget, like, Highland Springs has not been dominant as they were in the past, but everybody was calling for Highland Springs and Freedom to get to this point. Now, we're fortunate it's not the final game like it would have, we're fortunate it's not the semifinal game like it would have been. So Highland Springs is just doing it a different way, and let's just see, the win is the win.
Yeah, they're winning.
Yep, that's right. And we're previewing the Highland Springs Lake Braddock game for both fan bases. All right, Rusty, one of the best endings I've ever seen. Brentsville came back to beat Armstrong Kent 30-28, and you were at that game. Give us a wrap up of that.
So it was an incredible game. Brentsville had the lead early in the first half, but in the second half, they couldn't get in the end zone. And then once Armstrong went to heavy sets, went to like a wildcat, they made it. It was very difficult for Brentsville to stop it. Brentsville would move the ball, but then not get into the end zone. I felt bad for Armstrong. One, they didn't have their head coach there, but that's on them and the coach, and that's not an excuse. But because on the other side, Brentsville did not have their star quarterback, Caleb Alexander. But I thought Nico Orlando really took control of that game. He became the one. He said, "Put it on my back," and he did a great job. He was running so hard. He felt like every time he had the ball, he could score. But let me say this: at the end, it was the thing that made that ending so great is just the fact that there was a chess match. Armstrong didn't have a strong kicking game, and you could tell because they never tried to kick an extra point, and they didn't have a good punter. So when they were backed up to the 2-yard line, and they were leading at that point 28-21, with about 3 minutes left to go in the game, they decided to take the safety.
Smart move.
And you know what? I was in the booth. Even Brentsville coaches said, it's not a bad move when you consider what they have, because if they get the punt blocked or he punts it 20 yards like he had been doing, you're thinking maybe you have a better chance if you're punting after the safety. And the punt still wasn't very good. But this is the thing that I thought was great, because when Brentsville did get Nico to drive the ball down, and they got to the 2-yard line, and it was under, like, the clock was running under 20 seconds.
Yep.
Every one of us in the stands, because I was going in and out of press box, just so I could get better views. I was talking to some people in the stands. We were like, oh, Nico up the middle. They haven't stopped him all day. And they threw the ball for that touchdown. And I'm sure Armstrong was surprised, because I was. And I was like,
that was wide open, wasn't he?
Yeah, wide open. So I thought that was a well-coached game by Coach Lauren White. It was tough that Armstrong, had to lose. I know some of their fans were very disappointed and feel like the world is against them, because maybe some of the calls, and then their coach not being there. But I think that, because in fact, Jay said on our group text, he said, and this is when we thought Brentsville was going to lose, he said, Armstrong just has too many athletes for him. I said, I know
the common thing is
code for, but Brentsville's best athlete wasn't there. And if he had been, it wouldn't even have been close. They'd have won by 2 or 3 touchdowns.
Yeah. So they're going to be going back to the 757 at Lafayette, and we're going to preview that game. Go ahead, Jay.
No, Lafayette's coming up here.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Sorry about that. Now, moving on to the games that we did not preview, but we made predictions on. And the first one is a great game. King George 24, Varina 14. King George is going down to Phoebus.
Yeah, real quick, I just wanted to say King George has played a very tough schedule, and just their road through the playoffs.
Yep.
That being said, and they just beat Varina. I think Phoebus is a great team, and they've had this history, but we'll talk about it when we make our predictions. But
yep.
King George has had a tough way to go to get to where they are. They've beat some really quality teams that won the last few state championships in Class 4. And I feel like this is their window. This is their chance. And they probably have like a burning desire for revenge and to win it all. And Phoebus, if they're not careful, you never know. But for them to beat Varina, that shows a lot.
Yep. And we're going to preview the King George Phoebus game. And that's our next pick. Phoebus 41, War Hill 13.
Let's say this one thing, Phoebus.
Yep.
And I'm not going to take away any credit from Phoebus either, because they beat an undefeated War Hill team. And like I was telling you guys, I think War Hill came from a tougher district, the Bay Rivers. So much props to Phoebus on that victory. I don't want to downplay it. They beat an undefeated, really good team.
Yeah. And see, we're getting all these intertwining stories here, because I was going to say, hey, Tuscarora and Salem, you want to hear about what we're going to say about Phoebus and King George. Speaking of the next game, Matoaca beat William Fleming 42-3. Real quick caveat. War Hill defeated Matoaca, by the way, guys. So Matoaca defeated William Fleming 42-3. And then
Indian River.
Yeah. Indian River beat Green Run 10-7. I think that Rusty and Jason went with
Green Run.
And then Lake Braddock, handled Fairfax. We all thought that was the case, 39-20. Lake Braddock earned the opportunity to go down to East Richmond and play Highland Springs this week. Lafayette 49, Heritage 0. Very relevant. Brentsville District is going to be hosting Lafayette. Liberty Christian 63, Turner Ashby 14. All you folks at Brentsville, you're going to want to hear more about Liberty Christian. And then William Byrd for Magna Vista. We all had Magna Vista in that one. That was that's a great story there. Moving on to 1 and 2. Poquoson defeated Amelia County 57-18. Impressed with Poquoson. Riverheads 41, Central Woodstock 14. Mr. Byrd got Riverheads right. Jason and I got that pick wrong. Radford, Glenvar. Radford defeated Glenvar 29-7. We all had that one. Graham upset Union 33-23. We all had Union. Essex expectedly beat Lancaster 54-26. And then Alta Vista beat Sussex Central 22-16. I had Alta Vista. You guys had Sussex Central. Galax over George Wythe. Great game. I had George Wythe incorrectly. Everybody else was right. And then the other one was Honeacre defeating Rye Cove. That high-powered offense. Jason Sterling had Honeacre or had Rye Cove winning that. So I just wanted to say that in the 3, 4, 5, and 6 games, Mr. Sterling and I believe 13-3. Rusty was 11-5, and then in the 8 class of 1 and 2 games, Mr. Byrd 6-2. I was 5-3, and Jason Sterling was 4-4. So what we're going to do now is move on.
Can we just go over the overall playoff records? Just playoff.
Yeah. So what I have, and Jay didn't do part 2, so unfortunately, Jay, we got to truncate it there. But let's see. Mr. Sterling is Mr. Byrd. No wonder you wanted to go over him.
Oh, really?
Rusty is 93-23 in the playoffs, so he made up for that dismal picking in the regular season. It looks like Jason Sterling
playoff
is 92-24, and I'm 89-27. Jay, you were 76-16. We just didn't get you on the second half of that. And then overall, I'm not sure if those totals were right. I was just scrambling.
I'll take it.
No, that's good.
Do it in the playoffs. All right, let's go.